For more than 1,000 years, Constantinople stood like a miracle between Europe and Asia. Its walls had survived armies, sieges, betrayal, plague, fire, and time itself. To the world, it was more than a city. It was the heart of the Byzantine Empire, the last living shadow of ancient Rome. A fortress of faith, wealth, knowledge, and power. But on one terrifying night in May 1453, everything changed. Outside the walls waited a young Ottoman sultan with cannons, ships, soldiers, and a dream of empire. Inside the city stood a dying civilization, a desperate emperor, exhausted defenders, and people praying for a miracle that would never come. This is the story of Constantinople's last night. The night a thousand-year empire fell. Constantinople was not an ordinary city. Founded by Emperor Constantine the Great in 330 AD, it became the new capital of the Roman Empire. While Rome itself declined in the west, Constantinople survived in the east. For centuries, it guarded the crossroads of the world. Trade from Asia, Europe, and the Mediterranean passed through its ports. Its churches glittered with gold. Its libraries preserved ancient knowledge. Its walls were considered nearly impossible to break. The Theodosian walls, built in the 5th century, were among the greatest defensive structures ever created. Persians failed to take it. Arabs failed to take it. Bulgars failed. Russians failed. Even when enemies surrounded it, Constantinople endured. But by the 15th century, the city was no longer the powerful capital it had once been. The Byzantine Empire had shrunk to almost nothing. Its emperor ruled little more than the city itself and a few scattered territories. The empire was alive, but barely. Across the Bosporus, a new power was rising. The Ottoman Empire had grown stronger with every generation. Its armies controlled much of the surrounding land. Constantinople, once the center of an empire, was now almost completely surrounded. And in 1451, a young ruler came to the Ottoman throne. His name was Sultan Mehmed II. He was only in his early 20s, but he was ambitious, educated, and relentless. He understood history. He knew that whoever controlled Constantinople would control one of the most important cities in the world. For Mehmed, Constantinople was not just a target, it was destiny. Previous Muslim rulers had dreamed of taking the city. Ottoman sultans before him had tried and failed. Mehmed wanted to be the one who succeeded. He built a massive fortress on the Bosporus to control the sea route. He prepared ships. He gathered troops. And most importantly, he brought a terrifying new weapon to the battlefield: cannons. Among them was a massive bombard, designed to smash stone walls that had stood for 1,000 years. The age of ancient walls was about to meet the age of gunpowder. In April 1453, the Ottoman army arrived outside Constantinople. The numbers were overwhelming. The defenders inside the city were few. Emperor Constantine XI had only a small force of Byzantine soldiers, foreign volunteers, and Genoese fighters led by the skilled commander Giovanni Giustiniani. They knew they were outnumbered, but they also knew the walls. For weeks, the Ottoman cannons thundered against the city. Every blast shook the ground. Stones cracked. Towers broke. Sections of the walls collapsed. But every night, the defenders worked desperately to repair the damage. Men, women, monks, and soldiers carried stones, wood, and earth to rebuild what the cannons destroyed. The Ottomans attacked. The defenders pushed them back. Again and again, Constantinople refused to fall. But each day, the walls grew weaker. The defenders grew fewer. Hope grew thinner. Inside the city, food was running low. Fear spread through the streets. People prayed in churches. Families waited in silence. They knew the final assault was coming. They just did not know when. One of Constantinople's greatest defenses was the Golden Horn, a natural harbor protected by a giant chain stretched across the water. This chain prevented enemy ships from entering and attacking the weaker sea walls of the city. At first, it worked. The Ottoman fleet could not break through. But Mehmed did something shocking. He ordered ships to be dragged over land. Using greased logs and manpower, Ottoman ships were pulled across the hills and lowered into the Golden Horn behind the chain. When the people of Constantinople woke and saw Ottoman ships inside their protected harbor, their hearts sank. It was a psychological blow as much as a military one. The city was no longer safe from the sea. Now the defenders had to divide their already small forces. Some guarded the land walls, others guarded the sea walls. The circle was tightening. Constantinople was being strangled. By late May, men prepared for the final assault. Inside Constantinople, Emperor Constantine XI understood what was coming. On the night of May 28, 1453, the people gathered in Hagia Sophia, the greatest church of the Byzantine world. For generations, religious divisions had weakened the empire, but on this night, many stood together. Outside, Ottoman camps burned with thousands of fires. The sound of drums, chants, and movement filled the darkness. Inside the walls, there was no illusion left. This was not just another attack. This was the end. Emperor Constantine XI is said to have asked forgiveness from those around him. He encouraged his soldiers and prepared to fight beside them. He did not flee. He did not surrender. He chose to die as the last Roman emperor. For the people of Constantinople, the night must have felt unreal. A city that had lasted more than 1,000 years was waiting for sunrise, knowing sunrise might bring destruction. Before dawn on May 29, 1453, the Ottoman attack began. Wave after wave of soldiers rushed toward the damaged walls. The first waves exhausted the defenders. Then stronger troops followed. The fighting was brutal. Arrows, stones, fire, swords, and cannon smoke filled the air. The defenders fought from the broken walls with everything they had left. For a time, they held. But then disaster struck. Giovanni Giustiniani, one of the most important commanders defending the city, was wounded. His removal from the battlefield caused panic among some defenders. At the same time, Ottoman forces pushed harder against weakened sections of the wall. The elite janissaries joined the attack. The defense began to collapse. Some Ottoman soldiers entered through breaches in the walls. Others climbed over ruined defenses. The impossible had happened. Constantinople's walls had been broken. The city that had resisted the world for centuries was finally open. Emperor Constantine XI fought in the final moments near the walls. According to tradition, when he saw that the city was lost, he removed his imperial symbols and charged into battle like an ordinary soldier. His exact death remains uncertain. His body was never clearly identified, but his legend survived. The last emperor of Byzantium disappeared into the chaos of his city's final defense. As Ottoman troops entered Constantinople, panic spread through the streets. People ran to churches, families hid in homes, soldiers threw down weapons, others fought until they were killed. After more than 1,000 years, the Byzantine Empire was gone. The Roman Empire, which had begun centuries earlier in Italy and lived on through Byzantium, had finally reached its last breath. The date was May 29, 1453. Later that day, Sultan Mehmed II entered Constantinople. He was no longer just a young ruler with ambition. He was the conqueror of the city many believed could never fall. He entered Hagia Sophia, the great symbol of Byzantine Christianity, and ordered it converted into a mosque. Constantinople became the new capital of the Ottoman Empire. In time, it would be known as Istanbul. The city did not die. It transformed. Under Ottoman rule, it became a center of Islamic power, trade, architecture, and culture. Mehmed took the title, Caesar of Rome, presenting himself not only as a conqueror, but as the inheritor of imperial legacy. The empire that fell was replaced by another empire rising. History did not stop. It changed hands. The fall of Constantinople was more than the capture of a city. It marked the end of the Byzantine Empire. It changed the balance of power between East and West. It shocked Christian Europe. It strengthened the Ottoman Empire. And it became one of the defining moments between the medieval and early modern world. For some, it was a tragedy. For others, it was a triumph. But for everyone, it was a turning point. A 1,000-year empire did not fall in a single moment. It fell through centuries of war, division, decline, and isolation. But on its final night, behind broken walls and beneath the shadow of Hagia Sophia, the last defenders of Constantinople stood against history itself. They could not save the empire, but they gave its ending a final, unforgettable chapter. Constantinople's last night was not just the fall of a city. It was the closing of one world and the beginning of another.